All right, this is my munchy thoughts for the Game Awards 2024. Really gonna be guerrilla style, not really too coordinated, but at least I have a list of things that I actually like and appreciate it from the show, and a lot of games I'm looking forward to for the future and years to come. I must preface and say that I'm not going to cover everything that was kind of meh. There was filler, there was cozy games that are not meant for me. That's totally fine. I'm going to skip right over them and focus on my own personal interests and what I felt about the show a little bit later on. So number one, we have Naughty Dog with a new IP. This is called Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. Honestly, after so much like conversation on them being the Last of Us studio, this was refreshing to see a new IP, a new direction going forward with this whole retro futurism sci-fi kick. Honestly, this game has been leaked out before. Concepts of it have been leaked out before, where Naughty Dog is focusing on a new IP and another project, which is probably, definitely, 100% The Last of Us Part 3. I feel morbidly curious about how they're gonna pull this off, because it's something that's not really in their wheelhouse. They haven't done like this deep futuristic sci-fi space game that has a style of like going around and fucking up robots with a realistic MC. So I'm curious to see what that is going to be all about, if there's going to be like any combat, rhythm-based musical aspects, considering the fact that the main character has an equalizer sword. So I'm wondering, is that going to be like, you know, music-based, maybe equivalent to a la Hi-Fi Rush, where you hit someone, the music, the beat goes, and you keep on going? Probably not, but I definitely expect Naughty Dog's like cinematic imprint, their DNA of storytelling, to go hand in hand with this big open adventure. And they said it's going to be their deepest game gameplay wise, and honestly, it doesn't matter how you feel about The Last of Us, their previous titles, etc. Naughty Dog is good at making Western games with good combat. That is something that a lot of people are going to agree on. And then the other thing, objectively speaking, is they're really good on, you know, facial capture, capturing micro movements in the environment, micro movements on like the characters, the detail, the attention to detail is probably going to be immaculate still. You know, The Last of Us Part 2 still looks pretty fucking good, and it puts a lot of games graphically to shame with how it has like attention to detail. But since you basically are on this dark planet that has been uninhabited for like tons of years, I'm hoping that the locales at least do change, that things are varied, as opposed to seeing like one dark foggy forest for like almost half the game. But I'm sure when we get to that point, we're definitely gonna see and witness what they could do. I don't think this is gonna be like an open world romp where you go to planet and you bounty hunt everything, but they could keep me surprised. You never know. It seems like there's gonna be some melee in there. The character has a gun as well. There's going to be gunplay, combat sometime in there, and I'm thinking maybe it could be their own personal retro futuristic Star Wars, and I wouldn't mind that at all if it comes into fruition. It's an interesting concept, an interesting idea, but it is something that we have seen before. We've seen Guardians of the Galaxy come out and be a smash success. Quill with his fucking product placement. You know, there's product placement all over this shit as well. I saw people were complaining about that. Porsche, Adidas, whatever funds your money, Sony. Whatever funds your money, and whatever you have to pay back significantly for having all this stuff come together. It does make it feel like Naughty Dog has definitely gone Hollywood, but in terms of everything else, we have to talk about the drama. Now, I just got out of making a rational take on what I think of the game, and I do think we need to see more gameplay. I personally don't mind that opinion of people saying that I need to see more before I'm convinced or thrown into the driver's seat. That comes standard with like every new trailer or new IP. And then there are people that are completely sold on Jump Street and Naughty Dog. I trust. I'm gonna buy this game, play it, check it out, etc. Right? It's gonna be all types of people when gauging what this is gonna be. And I think that is the reasonable take. Like, hey man, I want to see more of this, show me more, and maybe convince me otherwise. And that is fine to try to prove yourself as a developer, company, publisher. Why do you want my money? That's fine. That's totally fine. I think this trailer was meant to show there's going to be this tone, this sci-fi futuristic tone, what we're influenced by Akira or Cowboy Bebop or all of this stuff in general. It could culminate in a relatively fine fashion. We don't know yet. I mostly think this trailer was to say that, hey, we're working on this new IP and it's going to be a new game, and I know you're tired of us making zombie survival titles. Let's do something different. More or less, I think that's all the trailer was meant to show, as well as show off the graphical fidelity of what the game is offering, and that's it. That last 10 seconds of the main character jumping off a fucking rock with a laser sword and attacking an enemy, I want to see how that enemy works. I want to see how it coordinates. Can I cut off his legs, arms, head? How am I going to finish it? How is it going to coordinate in combat? Is there going to be some environmentals going on between the main MC and the character? Will the robots like transform into hybrid forms? That's the main thing that is permeating my mind right now that they need to show. And honestly, they will show that in future PlayStation showcases or state of plays, where we'll get dedicated gameplay presentations. If you are worried about that, we've seen it before. They have you covered in that department. As for the flip side to this, it's Naughty Dog. So already it seems like they are public enemy number one. It's a predestined fate for people to say that it's going to be a bad game, a 0 out of 10, less dislike bomb, etc. When that's not even remotely a fair shake to say that it's going to be a 0 out of 10 just off a fucking teaser trailer, especially since this game is being internally touted as Naughty Dog's deepest game yet gameplay wise. So the element of saying that this will be an extremely bad game when gameplay is non-existent right now is fucking astounding and crazy to me. First thing is first, all right? We will get that gameplay, and when we do, we will judge it. When we do play it, that's gonna be the meat and potatoes of discussion when it comes out. But until that happens, there is not a lot to talk about except for the tone, thematic, and graphics, and that's it. Then there is the female character. Okay, and already we know that conversations about female main characters are so polluted that people are readily brain rotted to the point where toxic conversation has spilled over about this into The Witcher 4. Now we're seeing like stuff, for example, like re-rendered facial outrage. Or how are they going to justify and shoehorn in lore in order to make Ciri into a Witcher? But this guy Pirate Nation is so fucking brain dead that he doesn't understand that Ciri becomes a Witcher in one of the literal fucking endings for Wild Hunt.
Cirilla, Fiona, Ellen, Rhiannon, heir to Nilfgaard's throne, chose the life of a Witcher on the path. Geralt taught her all he knew, every skill he possessed, then each set off on their own. Soon word of the ashen-haired Witcheress had spread throughout the north, from the Yaruga to the mountains of Kovir.
On top of Geralt teaching her Witcher techniques. So what the fuck are people talking about? There are people on the other side of the fence not even doing their research and trying to pass everything off because there's a woman MC. That's crazy. All right. This example is meant to show that these sort of opinions about any female protagonist being displayed in a video game tends to be fucking awful. It could be Intergalactic, The Witcher 4, or Ghost of Yotei. All of these games have been prejudged and passed off, and people have seemingly made their minds up as opposed to waiting for more solid gameplay to come down the pipeline. I said it before and I'll say it again. This stuff is nothing but 100% rage bait garbage. Personally, I have no idea what's going to occur with my thoughts on this game until I actually get my hands on it. I don't know if Jordan's gonna be a deep character, a great character, or not. If the basis of your argument is that I can't play as a bald person in a video game, then believe me, on the flip side to that, there are plenty cool bald male protagonists that we all are readily fine with playing, like Kratos or Cole McGrath or Agent 47. Like, come on, what are we talking about here if the ire is I can't play as bald protagonist 101? That's another thing. And then saying they missed out on the train because Guardians of the Galaxy hit it a while ago, I do agree that retrofuturism isn't a new concept in general when it comes to gaming. Hell, we just had a Guardians of the Galaxy game, Be Stellar, not too long ago. I also believe when a game is being made for years and years, there is the possibility that trends will overlap your idea no matter how good your game is. Watch Raising Kratos, the documentary from God of War 2018. You will see that Sony Santa Monica was kind of worried about the overlap that Hellblade 2 was having with their game, even to the point of saying, hey, we're doing this revolutionary one-shot camera in a video game. Hey, Hellblade is doing that as well. Should we change this? Should we just go with the motions? This happens in game development 101. God of War 2018 came out and it all worked out fine. It was a heavily prestigious game, awarded several times, Game of the Year, all that shit, etc. Proving that it all didn't matter in the end if there was another game that was also doing the same thing that they were doing. It could all work out well. It could all not work out well. It all is a big bundle of yet to be determined, in my opinion. I think this ire is a lot of leftover negative emotions caused by The Last of Us Part 2, and honestly, some people online like judging a book by its cover. We also seen that with the screenshot here of people kind of doing that in the past with The Last of Us initially coming out and saying it was just another generic zombie game. Comes out, blows up the fucking atmosphere to smithereens, and everyone is like all over part 1 as we speak. They are gushing in love with that game, blah blah blah. I'm morbidly curious how they're gonna pull this off. Hopefully there's more customization in this game where you can dress up your character a little bit and give her certain hairstyles if you want, and if you're touting this game as your deepest game, then customizing your character will be a nice perk. I think it's fine to ask for that in a reasonable sense. Just all this frustration, I think this game's gonna come out and be a media darling, and there's gonna be a lot more frustration in tow with the internet. And if that's the case, then well, people said that Naughty Dog was like just another Last of Us studio. So if this game comes out and gets heavily awarded, then that claim is just gonna be debunked, right? And it's just gonna be more vitriol than ever because a game is heavily praised. I don't know. People are kind of weird, and I rather lean to the discussion side than anything else, than prejudging a game, than judging a book by its cover on this one. Next up, we're moving on to the Okami sequel. I think it goes without saying that Capcom are the GOATs, and Sega definitely took this whole award show by storm in terms of their presentations for future games. Number one is that I never expected Okami to return. I'm not really someone who played the first one. I'm interested to check it out before I check out the sequel, but I know it was a game that was beloved by many people. They called it Zelda, but with a wolf, and it turned out to be readily well and appreciated for what it was. And I think this could be a great game for them, experimenting in that wheelhouse, seeing what they could do that's innovative with that sort of gameplay, and having Hideki Kamiya come back yet again for Capcom. He essentially like crawled back to Capcom after all these years with Platinum Games and breaking off, and Clover Studio sort of dissolving, making Platinum, making Bayonetta great as it was. And now it's just like full circle. You just never see it happening. You never see it coming from a mile away, but it just did. And I'm thinking more of that possibility, like Clover's themselves, this new studio that is reminiscent to Clover Studio, rising from the ashes. What are they gonna do in the future? I'm hearing potential rumors that Platinum Games is not going so great, and there tends to be rumors and circulations of mass exodus, etc. I guess we'll see what happens, but they have not produced anything that I wanted to play recently, I will say that much. So it would be crazy if those employees just all go back to Capcom, which would be fucking nuts, man. It's just, I can't even process this. Kamiya coming back could potentially do well for a DMC1 remake. He did direct the first one. Imagine him making like a new one, or being like a supervisor or something like that. Just the possibilities are endless after Okami. And maybe that's what they're drumming up. They're trying to make a studio that has like experience on hack and slash or action games or various type of games, and Capcom is trying to lean into that a little bit. And what better than Insuno like just basically exiting? Well, it's not really better for them, because I would say that Insuno leaving Capcom was still kind of an L, but it is a W having Kamiya back, because the DMC possibility, it's like, oh, one stone turns and another one just turns back again and works in their favor. I cannot wait to see what Kamiya and Capcom does in the future. It could be really, really fucking spectacular. That's how I feel. So I would say yes, get hype, get excited, because I'm looking forward to all of this. And not only that, we have the return of Onimusha. I'm a big Onimusha stan. I played Warlords for the channel. I played the third one. The third game is quite honestly my favorite game in the series, with Demon Siege. Just interchanging those two characters, Samanosuke and Jock, and just going around in the past, present, and future, and dealing with monsters, and seeing how the landscape changes from Paris and going back to feudal Japan with like a guy with a gun is fucking insanity to me. But that game was incredible. It really solidified my stance as an Onimusha fan. So seeing Onimusha back again, the full-on gore, Onis getting chopped in half, big ass monsters getting thrown, just injected into my veins. This is what a lot of people wanted, and I think Capcom is leaning into that Capcom poll that was released a couple of months ago, where they said, hey, what do you guys want? And most people said, hey, revive older franchises, dead franchises. Mostly they've been in this experimental phase of making new IPs, and I do believe that they should make new IPs. A lot of people saying, I'll just cancel Pragmata and bring back Dino Crisis. I want Dino Crisis, but I also want them to be, you know, full of ingenuity in the process, and make new shit and innovative shit, and keep basically putting a foot on the neck of those people that say, oh, you are a remake company, you are a remaster company, you can't do anything original, etc. I think it needs to be a balance of new IPs and older IPs being in a marriage, and that's what brings back the prime golden era of Capcom, when they really know, I can make something new and I can make something old and I can make it just a great game in general. And boy, oh boy, this solidifies it. I hope Pragmata is a success. I hope Onimusha is really good, but it looks, they showed gameplay of this for real, and I was like, oh shit, you could just stab a motherfucker from behind, throw him, slice people in half. It basically solidifies that I'm getting this day one, day zero. It's like, fuck, okay. Playing it day one on live stream, people, is happening. 2026, let's fucking get it. Hopefully I don't get a cold and go to the great beyond, because I need this gameplay in my blood now. Get a cold and go to the great beyond. I'm just over exaggerating, but still, holy fucking shit, boy, do I need this. I need it. Whew. Okay. And now the last thing is that the complaints about the lack of Resident Evil 9. I understand it. Look, Resident Evil fans, I get you. I get the pain. I feel it deep in my blood. I wish we would have seen something Resident Evil, but what they showed was not bad. Those games that they showed, they have fan bases. Those implications are huge. So just give it time, just wait a little bit. You know, there's still Summer Games Fest of 2025. There's still later on in 2025. I'm sure Onimusha is not going to be the only game to come out in 2026. Remember, there was an anniversary stream where Capcom talked about Resident Evil and said 2026 is going to be their biggest year. It's going to be the 30th anniversary of RE. Expect titles to drop hard within that time period. I'm sure they're all being cooked up, and we're going to see something sooner than later. Just hold the line for a couple of more months, all right? It's going to be all fine, I promise. Next up is Witcher 4. I don't have too much to say about this one other than the fact that I am intrigued. I am intrigued that they're going in this direction, and it looks like dark and foreboding and cool. I like how she just fucking cuts the shit out of that creature, spider creature thing, willow looking motherfucker, whatever, cuts off his head, and I want to do it and see all that in gameplay. It's just like, if I can see it in CGI, I want to imagine it in gameplay, and if you let me do it and have all this magic with grasses and shit and fucking just destroy enemies, that's all I care about. I played Witcher 2 for a little bit, and I remember thinking, you know, this is fine. You know, you roll around, you counterattack, you use like these little spells of fire to basically burn the enemies. I was doing some of the combat trials in the game for a little bit, just experimenting, and I did like the vibe of that game and how it felt. I haven't played the third one, but people say the third Witcher game is like peak, and you know, I'll check it out definitely if it's on Game Pass, or if I can just grab it for like cheap. I'll check it out, no problem, and see how it is. There are people pissed about Ciri. I'm not too pissed. If she's like a badass and kicks ass and shit, I'm not gonna fucking complain like a little bitch, you know what I mean? It seemed like there was the Geralt voiceover at the end. I'm guessing he's going to be a mentor role, and I'm guessing they wrapped up his story nicely in Wild Hunt. So I want to check that out first before jumping into this game. But I know if people are pissed that you don't play as Geralt, I think it would be nice if they decide to do like maybe a segment where you play as him a little bit and you're OP, and you just like go in to save Ciri, you fuck shit up, and then you go back to her. Something like a Chris Redfield saving Claire Redfield deal for a little bit, and then you switch back to the character. I think that would be fine. If you are disappointed even further, there is going to be that Witcher remake as well of the first game. So I don't think it's much of an issue. Like, just if you're not all down for Witcher 4, go ahead and get the remake and you'll be playing with Geralt in its early days. Next up is Shadow Labyrinth. This is a sort of surprise. It's a dark take on Pac-Man. It's like a Metroidvania where you have to consume, eat, and survive. And I never expected this sort of idea at all. It looks cool though. It looks fucking amazing actually, to do something that's different. And you know, dark of this nature. It does seem edgy, right? It seems like a very sort of edgy title, edgy subtitles. You must consume, but I am digging this. I liked Metroidvanias like Strider and Symphony of the Night that kind of just kicked it off even further with Metroidvania. I'm curious how things like the power pellets will be coordinated with the combat, maybe ousting off shields and doing more damage for a limited amount of time, as well as the alternative mechanics where you're hack and slashing to victory. This definitely seems like an entirely different monster that you would never expect in like a million years for a Pac-Man game. I don't know if it's going to be a roguelike Metroidvania or not. I guess we'll see. That's yet to be determined. I haven't read into anything else further about this game, but I am curious to see how it goes out. It's not like a day one on my bucket list, but maybe like a day 50 or day 100 and we see it go on sale, and maybe if I'm curious I'll pick it up. It depends on the word of mouth. The dark Pac-Man is interesting at the end of the trailer, and that looks like a summon to me, like a summoning move. Maybe that's going to be summon and devour the entire enemy, so you never know how that's going to go. But I'm telling you now, I have never expected something like this. I'm used to the like very cutesy looking Pac-Man stuff. I am a big player of like Pac-Man World. I remember when that came out, I actually liked that game when it came out in 3D and I played it. So this is something I want to pick up and experience and witness and cause all the chaos in this new shadowy land. Can't wait for it, really. Next up, what do we have here? Another sort of surprise that is a side scroller, and that is Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Now, this is from the creator of Blasphemous. I never played Blasphemous, but I do know that so far Ragebound looks like very colorful, very fast-paced, energetic side-scrolling where you're in the trees like cutting down enemies. I liked how I automatically knew it was Ninja Gaiden because I'm such a fucking Ninja Gaiden freak that when they were doing the NES intro of the two ninjas fighting and they were doing the sword clash, I automatically knew, bruh, this is the same as the NES intro. I'm so excited. I was like, oh fuck. The frenetic fast pace of the game is also like blowing my mind as well. You're in these like crispy environments just completely cooking demons, monsters, and men and chopping them all in half and shit with power-ups to spare and going around the environment. It's just, it moves like a dream. It looks like a gem. These big, larger than life monsters. We are back in the side-scrolling realm for Ninja Gaiden, and I'm really kind of a little bit bummed we didn't get a 3D one, but I'm totally fine with this, by the way. Just anything to support the series and keep it going with something more unique in terms of art style and just how the gameplay is coordinated. Like, I would play anything from Ninja Gaiden. It could be side scrolling, it could be 3D. I don't give a fuck. Just put it into my veins so I can inject that crack cocaine. I'm looking forward to this game a lot, actually. I have like zero complaints about this whatsoever, especially after a second glance of the trailer. It looks fucking pretty and the cutscenes are amazing. I'm hoping there's more like these anime artistic cutscenes. Shit, actually I may have one complaint. No Ryu Hayabusa this time. It seems like a completely new ninja protecting the Hayabusa village once again on fire, because as usual this motherfucker gets attacked every single day. It's like day and day attacks, right? So you're playing as this new guy as well. Maybe they'll slap a skin on him and say, hey, here's your signature Ryu Hayabusa skin and whatnot. But I like playing as the man, the myth, the legend himself. So I hope the game does offer like different characters or maybe some different stats with playing as them as well. Similar to Strider, Hiryu, and Hien. I know they have some differing abilities in Strider too when you pick between both of these characters. And that's kind of cool. Like I want to see more of that in like side scrollers where you pick someone, they play a little bit differently, and they go around and they just completely fuck shit up. Man, I can't wait for this game once again. Hopefully this leads to a full-fledged Ninja Gaiden 3D game or more side scrollers, but I need more support for this series and I couldn't be more ecstatic about it. Next we have Project Century. So this game, and I played a couple of Yakuza beat 'em up titles, it seems a little bit different though, because this game seems to focus on someone that's not really well versed in karate or anything like it is in Yakuza. Like you got these people that are signature street fighters and shit, or Majima doing like breakdancing moves, like very, very wild combat. Whereas this new guy that you play as in Project Century, he's very, very clunky looking in a good way. Like he doesn't really seem like he's flashy or anything like that. It looks like it's very realistic style combat. You're stabbing people in the sides, and it's very nasty, or you're stabbing them in the head, or your character's like falling over. And I think it looks different and interesting to me, where it's a lot more weapon-based thematics than anything else, smashing people over the head with a bottle and stuff of that nature. And you know they're gonna definitely cook with this, considering how they made stuff like Judgment, and it was just fun as an experience, just beating people down and seeing these multitude of execution moves, and it's just really fucking violent looking, and I love it. And you got this big tank sub boss that can kick you around and you fall on the ground in this giant warehouse that's like almost exploding. I think Project Century is going to be one of those interesting titles to definitely pick up and play and witness, and one of those things that RGG is doing best is investing us into the world and characters very quickly. So seeing how this guy is, maybe he's going to be like another gang member or just someone that knows how to sloppily get the job done with a knife, is going to be pretty entertaining, and I want to see where his story leads and where it goes. Then we have another one from RGG, reviving Virtua Fighter. Now this guy that was fighting, I didn't know who it was, right? One of my friends said, look at the elbow, that's Akira. I couldn't fucking tell from the elbow, but when I saw the shoulder tackle, when I saw that happen into the equation, that guy getting shoulder tackled, I'm like, wait a minute, is that the same shoulder tackle from Virtua Fighter? Then it says ready, and then the logo comes up, very reminiscent of Street Fighter 6 with a more simplified logo. They are going back to essentially what Virtua Fighter is, which is this deep, complex fighter, and enhancing it to a large degree. The gameplay seems like a lot more faster now as well. I'm talking, that shit looks faster than Virtua Fighter 5, and I've been playing that for a while with the new Revo update for PC when the beta launched, and it looks even faster than that. Where Akira does this, it looks like he does a grab in the middle as well, very quick, when he smacks like Stella in the face. They don't call her Sarah Bryant, it's Stella. Maybe that's like code name, or maybe she's brainwashed, or maybe that is like Sarah's daughter. I don't know what's going on there. It looks like a reboot of things, and I guess maybe I don't know, because Akira looks older. Unless this is a redesign or whatever, it could be a reboot, but I don't know how I feel about that. Just bring back all the signature characters. Personally, I think this should be Virtua Fighter 6. Like, you're going in this concurrent direction, let it be Virtua Fighter 6. Let it be a true evolution of what was built before. and you already have all these like numbered titles to begin with. Why not have another one? But I understand sometimes marketing, sometimes you want to gravitate a new crowd, but I still think this is going to be a Fast, Furious, and Street Fighter. And I cannot personally wait to. I want to see all the fucking characters come back in redesigned ways. I don't give a fuck. Just don't try to make it like a Soul Calibur where later on in the series it's like, hey, we had previously established characters and then all of a sudden those characters got taken over by their kids, and it's just like, so lame. I can see why people have a problem with that. Just bring back the older characters and make them old, but make them fit in this new environment of a game. That's all you have to do, versus it's just my kids or things like that. I still think an idea like this did not work out for a lot of fighting games in the past, except for Tekken 3. Tekken 3 is the only one where they tried to replace like the older characters with new ones, and those new characters were just as amazing as the older ones. I don't know if it's going to work for Virtua Fighter because it is a very small roster. It's like small compared to the big dogs like Tekken. And that's another thing too, like, yeah, new characters needs to be a given and they need to be just as cool as the older cast, but surely there's gonna be older costumes. I think you're not gonna be bowler hat Akira forever, right? There's definitely going to be different costumes, customization. Bring that back from Virtua Fighter 5. That's please. Like, I don't know if it's going to be in this game, but just bring that back. I like my character looking really different when they introduce that in the game. More or less, I want them to build on the core of what they established before, while also enhancing the fighting to a significant degree. I agree with Emery Reigns when he said either this is going to be really, really good or really received not the best. It's only going to go one way or the other with Virtua Fighter, since it's been out of the loop for almost 18 years. But we've seen revivals before. We've seen them happen with even a bad game beforehand, or a game that didn't really launch well, with Street Fighter 5 before it became good, and then we had 6 out of the gate amazing. We'll see what happens with this one. I'm wishing them the best of luck. And from that gameplay snippet, the animations, ooh, fucking sexy. Turok Origins. Now, I haven't seen this trailer, and I'm gonna watch it on the spot, right here and now. We're doing this here and now. I'm gonna mute my background noise and take a look at this. It's only a minute, but let's see how this gameplay is. Who is this being developed by? Is this another Saber game? I think it is. But as I'm seeing this now, you know, I don't know if it's going back to roots, going back to basics, but I think this is like third person. Let's go to the end where we see this gameplay. Yeah, it's third person. It looks kind of good though. I'm not gonna like this shit looks fine for what it is. There's these big ass bug creatures. You're fucking slicing dinosaurs. You got like this tentacle arm thing that's like making the goop in your gameplay, like sort of scenario brain, just go off the fucking charts. Yeah, I like the futuristic guns being added back into the equation with this whole element of dinosaur killing. And there's a big triceratops at the end. You know, that's like your signature boss that you got to take out. Bravo job actually for making this trailer and getting me very invested into what the gameplay has to offer. I think one thing that's very cool about this is how the enemies are all coordinated. Like, oh man, seeing a raptor get blown away by like an electric gun, it just brings me back to the good old days of Turok. Mafia Old Country. I'm not sure if this was in engine, so I don't think it was actually gameplay, but another instance of, oh, we're doing it in engine. So it's not technically a CGI trailer, but it technically is a cutscene based trailer where they're introducing the new characters in Sicily. I think the only thing I can say about this game, and I love the Mafia franchise, I know when we got to 3, that's when people kind of said it hit a low point, but I believe that there were also people saying the story of Mafia 3 was actually good. For my personal opinion, I just remember getting into the intro levels, having bugs, having my boat like flip over in the beginning and fall through the goddamn atmosphere. So it's just like, it's not a good first impression. I drive my car for the first time and it goes into space. That's not a good first impression. So it just needs to not be riddled with bugs. I do think that Hangar 13 kind of learned their lesson with Mafia Definitive Edition, which is a remake of one of my favorite games of all time, Mafia 1. I played that on stream and I do remember having some admiration for it when I did. So let's see how it goes with this, sort of a back to origin story. I don't know. It's like when you do these things, it's like I can understand them sticking to an aesthetic of what worked beforehand and the whole Sicily thing. It kind of reminds me of The Godfather Part 2, where there was interspersed sections of Vito Corleone being back in old day Sicily, and the brutality here and the whole fucking the Don CC getting gutted and everything. He's like, I have a present for you. Hoping we see a scene like that in this. Just a couple of callbacks to making it reminiscent of that would be pretty damn good in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to it. Honestly, Mafia's strongest point is the storytelling. A place where Mafia is not really the strongest point has to do with this linearity, open world, and freedom in that department. Is very point A to point B to get to this great story with how the world is coordinated. So maybe some more lively elements in this Sicily setting would do for the open world gameplay, maybe opening up that aspect of doing more things, having more freedom, more dynamic events, and it could finally stand on the cusp of that deep oasis of what GTA is known for, like a few more extra gameplay elements to the world that adds to the story and adds to the side missions and comes together in a grand way, would be something that I would like to see from Hangar 13 that Mafia hasn't really dived into too deeply. I want to see more of that, more gameplay elements that accommodate this great story. So yeah, some gameplay enhancements to the open world and those elements in Mafia Old Country, that would be nice going forward. The next two games are something I'm interested in, but I don't have really too much to say. It's going to be Sonic Racing Crossworlds. I liked Team Sonic Racing, or whatever I played on Steam with my friends back over at the Infinite Ammo Syndicate. That was really fun, and I think this game is going to be more or less similar or the same. I'm all down for more Sonic racing games, and Crossworlds seems to be right up my alley. Shadow the Hedgehog was prominently featured, so maybe it's going to be like centered on him and what he does, and maybe a couple of tracks from reminiscent stages that he partook in with fucking the new Shadow Generations DLC or remaster or whatever is going to be prominent there. Then we have Split Fiction. This game looks like a big amalgamation of Fusion Frenzy, where you're doing a bunch of random tasks in this single player game. It's a lot of variety going around with the differing worlds. It kind of reminds me of Tron, where you are literally in this whole video game landscape. It's like a mixture of Tron and Ready Player One. And for a video game concept, I think it works like really fine. This is the new game from Joseph Fares, and he's been kind of killing it with his game so far. Like, I think It Takes Two won Game of the Year at one point in 2021. Personally, I think this is going to be a relatively fine co-op game. It's going to be one of those where you play it, you sit down, and you have a fucking blast with all the hijinks and shenanigans going down. And the fact that it is very variety based and you're doing differing assortments of gameplay, will keep it at least interesting enough to where it doesn't seem monotonous, repetitive, and boring. And there's going to be some character beats in between. If they execute that well on top of it, then we might be looking at a solid package. Of course, replay value, all of those things factor into different ways of how you play with the certain gaming archetypes that are presented in the game. So I can't wait to see what I can experiment with. Maybe I'll grab a co-op buddy and fucking just kick it, chill it one night and fucking play that shit, no problem. Fuck the Oscars, right? He came in and said fuck the Oscars, won the proverbial gaming Oscar, and maybe he will win another one. We'll see what Joseph Fares does like in the future. But I remember I wanted to get a Way Out like really fucking bad. I think I do have it because a friend gifted it to me. I just can't remember which platform because I have like pea soup brain, so I have to get back to that and eventually play it. But still, I can't wait for this one. It did strike my intrigue, and when I play it, I'm gonna have a good time. Now, the final part. I'm not gonna say too much about the award show itself, but I guess people are wondering what was my overall opinion on the Game Awards of this year and the awards and nominations and all that other stuff, and I'm gonna keep it kind of brief at this point in time. I thought the show itself was better than the last couple of years, honestly. Geoff Keighley seemed to have basically taken everything to heart. He was making fun of the show himself, the wrap it up thing, just being Kojima's boyfriend, all that dumb shit. Sometimes you gotta laugh at yourself and see what people are saying about your show and maybe embrace it, take it to heart and whatnot. It wasn't really too bad on fucking just a bunch of celebrities coming out. Al Pacino, not even knowing where he is. It wasn't too bad. We did see fucking Harrison Ford though, but that wasn't really a bad segment at all. So they really kind of cleaned it up. It wasn't really a big interruption on stage with fucking people just invading it, so thank God we didn't see like memes like the stupid groper kid coming on stage and fucking saying shit on the mic. So they had the security locked down. That was cool. They really just seemed to learn their lesson, and it was one of the better Game Awards in my opinion. I'm shocked on saying that after shitting on the show for such the longest time, but I can't shit on this one. For 2024, it was actually tolerable. There are a few things that obviously I would fix, like some of the nominations and categories. Still having Elden Ring as a nomination for Game of the Year with its DLC is fucking crazy, and I wouldn't have put it there. Same for Balatro as well, a card game being up there. That was just a meme at that point. It did win a couple of awards though, for what I see, and Metaphor was getting its flowers too. But overall, talking about the Game of the Year, dude, those Wukong dudes on Twitter right now, they are so fucking salty. Holy shit. Like, literally speaking, it is a giant meltdown on X, as it always is, because every fucking day it's a meltdown on there. But it's a giant meltdown on Wukong getting snubbed for Game of the Year. And all I gotta say is, well, I guess Shroud's theory of if it doesn't win, it's rigged has come into fruition to the Twitter minds out there that are poisoned by a bunch of bullshit. Hey, look, Astrobot winning, I have no problem with that whatsoever. It shows that, hey Sony, we got to get back into the platforming game here, because we've created a game that resonated with many people, and not only that, it won Game of the Year. So Team Asobi, you get your flowers. I'm not mad at that choice at all. I pretty much love it, actually. I was rooting for Astrobot in the background, behind the scenes this year in my previous videos for the longest time, and to see it win and get its due diligence and credits is cool. The only thing is that I'm kind of a little salty that Silent Hill 2 remake got snubbed out of all categories. Like, I didn't think it was gonna get Game of the Year or anything like that. You know, you have your personal Game of the Years, that's fine. But if it was nominated, I don't think it would have won to Astrobot regardless. But it's crazy how it lost to Hellblade 2 for like best performance. I think it got snubbed completely. But you know what? Doesn't matter. As long as Bloober Team understands, hey, going forward, we're making all these great games. Let's do it. Let's make the best fucking Silent Hill games that we can, the best fucking horror games that we can. I'm all on board for that. It teaches a good lesson to that studio and continue the passion, man. That's what I want to see for horror gaming going forward. And we need more horror games anyway, because RE was like a no-show at this event. So yeah, we gonna need all that to come into fruition in the future. But I'm ultimately fine with how it turned out for the big award this year. Wukong people, not so fucking much, all right? But luckily, you know, DLC didn't win, Wukong didn't win, Balatro didn't win. It was all Astrobot, and you know, I think it deserved what it got, and hopefully it does serve as a reminder that yes, Sony, you can make platforming games that doesn't cost a lot of AAA money, and it could turn out to be a successful if you give these devs a try. And they do promote indies, so I'm not gonna be like too weird about it like other people are. They definitely do have off-kilter games or AA games that are out there that they experimented with, but yes, we need to see more of it. Anyway, I am Renegade Operative. I am signing out. That is what I think of the Game Awards so far this year, and ultimately my opinions on everything else I was kind of interested in with the newer games that was pouring out of the show. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my discussion on everything so far. Once again, you can find me on social media platforms below, Blue Sky, Discord, all that shit. Check me out, and hopefully, you know, we get more stuff in the future from Summer Games Fest. That's still something that Geoff Keighley, you need to fucking improve, because I think the last Summer Games Fest was kind of boring. So as long as you keep that momentum, understand the feedback, take it, you know, take it in stride, then everything will be fine on both fronts as opposed to one. But this shit was fun, man. I gotta do this again sometime for sure. It's gonna be a bit of a longer video, but still, I'm signing off for real this time. See you guys next time. Later.